Which are we talking about in this episode 7 WandaVision recap? Please stand by. We're talking WandaVision episode 7 with spoilers. Thanks for being here today, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button. This one sticks with a familiar formula, mostly because this Modern Family themed episode was more about setup again than anything else. We've had an awful lot of setup on this show, and I really don't see how all of this is going to get resolved with only 2 more episodes remaining without it ending in a cliffhanger. We do get a nice reveal at the end of this episode, though. Now, that's not to say things weren't done well. Let's recap what we found out in this episode. Often throughout the episode, the house is starting to shift in between decades, and Wanda herself says, "I don't understand what's happening, why it's all falling apart, and why I can't fix it." They briefly showed a missing child on the side of a milk carton. Could this be the missing person S.W.O.R.D was originally sent in to find, maybe when they were a child? The twins questioning Wanda about what Uncle P said about re-killing their dad, and her telling him not to believe anything that man says, he's not your uncle. Monica and Agent Wu are working again to gain access back into the Hex to warn Wanda about what they learned from Darcy's S.W.O.R.D hack in the previous episode, which is that Haywood plans to bring Vision back online as a weapon. I don't understand how Haywood doesn't have every area of this Hex surrounded by his own team, and how Monica and Wu, with their military help, would have been able to set up, let alone break in, without interference from Haywood, who dismissed them in the previous episode. But I guess it's one of those things you just have to overlook and roll with for the sake of moving the story along. So Monica gains access through the Hex finally, which was very well done, especially hearing all of the audio clips and sound bites that go along with her struggle. Listen closely and you'll hear Nick Fury and Carol Danvers, among others. She definitely has superpowers by the time she breaks through, even if she doesn't know it yet. The eyes say it all. Inside the Hex, she's wearing a costume with a slight nod to the Captain Marvel / Photon look that she wore in the Marvel comic books, minus the mask. So Haywood survived the Hex, swallowing him up when it expanded in the last episode, but Darcy didn't. So inside the Westview Circus, we have our moments of Darcy, the escape artist who is unaware of what's happened to her. This is until Vision brings her back into reality. At this point, Vision is now learning of who he was before and what has happened to him. Remember, this is a Modern Family-esque episode, so all of the characters are doing their interviews between scenes. Vision, realizing he is wasting his time and starts to fly off, only to have his cape getting caught on a chair for a brief moment, was a very nice comedic touch. The interaction of Wanda and Monica again was very good. We get some nice comic book style moments brought to life in the scenes that include Monica breaking free from a levitating grasp and landing in a very superhero-ish style pose, along with the dialogue of Monica telling Wanda not to let him in, him being Haywood. "Don't let him make you the villain." And Wanda replies, "Maybe I already am." Seeing the look on Agnes' face with Monica's arrival and how fast she interjected herself into that situation quickly was a nice build-up to the best part of the episode, the big reveal inside Agnes' house. The twins, who Agatha took for the day so Wanda could have a me day, are missing, and Agnes leads Wanda into her basement, which looks like a dungeon chamber. Is that the Darkhold book from Agents of S.W.O.R.D I saw in there? So our reveal is Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and we get a great Munsters theme groove taking us behind the scenes of Agatha's involvement behind the scenes of the previous episodes. The lyrics to the song were as good as the imagery. Heck, she even confesses to being the one who killed Sparky. Episode over, or so we think. Stick with it because we get our first WandaVision post-credits scene. A very short scene with Monica finding the cellar entrance in the back of Wanda and Vision's house. She opens it up. We see tree roots and purple energy. She's about to enter when the up until now missing from this episode Pietro shows up and says, "Snooper's gonna snoop." So the ending of this episode was the best part for me. I even rewatched that portion a few times. But this episode isn't anything of a surprise. I think most people knew Agnes was really Agatha Harkness before the series even began. I know Agatha Harkness as a hero character, so to speak, from the comic books, even though she didn't actively wear a costume and head out into the streets to fight villains. Thinking back to last week's episode, when Vision brought Agnes to reality for a quick moment, she asked if he was there to save them. So she must be a pawn. She's being controlled by Mephisto to control Wanda. That's what I'm thinking. Mephisto could easily be Agnes's never-seen but often talked about husband Ralph, or, wait for it, this is a little crazy, could Mephisto be Senor Scratchy? It's weird, but maybe. I mean, Senor Scratchy was down in the basement with Agnes when she was doing the big reveal at the end. She was in Agnes's hands, too, so I don't know. It's a little out there. You never know, though. So Monica getting powers is not a really big shock. I think we all knew that that was coming. I hadn't thought too in depth about S.W.O.R.D wanting to make Vision a weapon in Project Cataract, but that's not that big of a shock either. The biggest shock for me was probably that Darcy didn't know what happened to her when the hex expanded and she became part of the circus before Vision freed her. And I would say the other big shock of this episode was the fact that it wasn't an hour long, as touted so many times. People were saying that Kevin Feige said that the last 3 episodes would be an hour long, and everyone started spreading that. I was guilty of telling my friends that it was the last 3 episodes were going to be an hour long as well. And this episode was only 37 minutes, with about 30 to 31 minutes being devoted to content and the rest to credits. So it not being a full hour was maybe one of the bigger shockers of the entire episode. Like I said, it's not a bad episode, but it still hasn't moved the story as far along as I thought we would have, by being in the fact that we're up to episode 7 and getting ready for the last 2. So I've been showing you some different comic books that feature Vision and Scarlet Witch, and last week I showed you the first 4 issues from their second miniseries. So this time I want to show you the next 4 issues from that 12-issue miniseries, starting with Vision and the Scarlet Witch issue number 5. Agatha Harkness is actually featured inside this comic book too. Then we have issue number 6. Nice Thanksgiving themed cover. You don't see a lot of Thanksgiving themed covers in comic books, but this one qualifies for that. Here's number 7. And finally, number 8. So coming up soon on this channel, obviously, we're going to continue our WandaVision talks. We got 2 more weeks of that left. I also have next week a video, A-OK from D-Runk Comics and Copy 801 that I'll be sharing on my channel as well. I hope that you'll look forward to that. If you haven't seen some of my recent videos, including a live A-OK unboxing with Varangian Vigilante, I hope that you'll watch that, which is archived on my channel. And we also have an A-OK from Stone Cold Steve Whiting. If you haven't seen that video as well, make sure to check that out. I certainly would appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts and comments about this episode below. Were any of these surprises to you? Let's dialogue about anything WandaVision or Scarlet Witch and Vision that you want to in the comment section below. If you give this video a thumbs up, that certainly would be appreciated. And as I mentioned before, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I certainly would appreciate a subscription. It's a great way to show support to my channel. I certainly couldn't do this without you, nor would I want to. Thanks again for another WandaVision episode and spending time with my recap of it. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Nope, no bonus scene in my episode 7 recap. Marvel 2-in-1 issue number 66.